Welcome, everyone. So I see Freddie here as usual. Hey, Freddie, thanks for hanging out with me. I am actually still working on stuff right now for the live stream. Been working on this stuff off and on for a week. So cheers to you all. I guess it's just a sickness that I want to cram so much stuff into the live stream, spend so much time in this chair that it's actually slowly deflating. So I have another chair coming, but I want to welcome you. I see Craig here in the chat as well. And Craig already made a comment, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. Obviously now I have the subscriber button on, so you can't chat if you haven't subscribed, but you can comment and go into the live stream after and ask me questions. And a lot of people have been asking me questions, and I try to answer those, commenting, saying thank you, and I appreciate that so much. So if you're out there listening and yet you're not in the chat, I want to welcome you and thank you if you're watching this video after it was live at Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm here in the north part of the United States, in the state of Washington. Actually, basically at the bottom of Washington, close to the eastern side of the state. And a lot of people say, are the trees beautiful here? It's desert where I live. When we do the live stream behind the scenes of the studio and then my little garage setup, which is very, very dirty right now because it's winter time and the cars bring in all of the dirt. We've had snow. It's kind of crazy. But I'm going to try to clean that up before I go live, and we'll see if we hit that mark. And that's what Craig was saying about how close I am to 1,000 subscribers. Not sure what I'm going to do when I get there, other than I did make the promise that we would do an extended live stream. So I don't know if I'll replace next Tuesday's live with that and do a long live, both the regular live show, and then obviously now we're doing a post live show, the post show, and that starts at around 5:15. And so this show is a little shorter, so we may do that next week. I also want to give a shout out to Pure Human. Can you can I raise my audio up? Is that any better now, or is it too loud? Let me know in the chat. Let me just reference it here real quick. I did have someone in the studio yesterday, so obviously when I'm set up all the time for live, it's different than when I'm set up for recording in the studio. And so make sure you stay at the post show if you'd like to see me introduce a client. That's going to happen in the post show, and we have great stuff for the live show tonight. And then we also have great stuff for the post show. So testing 1, 2. Sounds pretty good on my headphones, but let me know if that's good, and welcome. Freddie says, hi, it's good to see Conjoining Technologies here. What's up, Keith? As usual, thank you so much for joining me in the live show. And so again, thank you for subscribing. A little bit about the live stream, and then we're going to get right into it tonight because we do have limited time now in the lives. But again, I got the 5-minute timer set on. You have to be a subscriber. So if you subscribe and you haven't subscribed before, you'll be able to chat. I'm just trying to make these lives more subscriber friendly and be able to give you guys an opportunity to chat at the very beginning. And if someone else joins in 5 minutes, they'll be able to chat as well. I also wanted to let you know I turned off delayed comments, but just don't fire them back to back to back because it's really hard for me maybe to see your question. So try to give it some thought and then type that in the chat. And if you want me to know for sure it's a question for the Q&A tonight, then put Q at the beginning of that question, or you could put my name, Keith, there as well. Again, this is Life Journey Production Studios, and my name is Keith. Welcome to the live stream, and I thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see if more join us as the night goes. So we are going to look at my setup. I spent a number of hours making some still images so you guys can kind of see how I use an ATEM Mini Pro and an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO and how I integrate it, as well as the monitors that I have in here. I have switches, which basically lets me choose what input I want to go in a specific channel. I use those mostly in my ATEM Mini Pro, but I do have one switch that comes into my ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. Again, I don't think they need the mini name anymore for the Extreme and the Extreme ISO because they're huge. They're not mini at all. So again, thanks for showing up tonight. And I want to share some tech. I want to talk a little bit about the post show. If you did not watch last week's post show, we had a special co-host. So you can check that out. That co-host will not be here every week. He's not going to be here tonight for the post show. He is on a little trip right now. So we'll talk about that in the post show. Hopefully you'll laugh at that. So tonight we're going to look at a little bit of tech, but in the post show, I am going to unwrap this little baby. So if you want to see that in the post show, then that is a separate live stream tonight that starts just after this one ends. So you have to go over there and join that after it gets up live, but it is scheduled for 5:15 and hopefully I will get there on time. So talk a little tech. I purchased this little Joby Grip Tight Mount Pro. Again, this is not sponsored. I paid for this. I'm not doing a review. I've been eyeing this for a long time. Those of you who know me, have been on the channel for a while, know that I use a Joby grip that will go on a tripod or it will go on a light stand, which I love that. And I use that for my mobile phone. And so I've done a lot of streaming, a lot of video from my mobile phone. I use a Rode Lav Plus microphone. Now they have the new Lav 2, which is a great new microphone that you can get. They also have the Lav Go. They also have other microphones like shotgun microphones you can use with your smartphone. And it's not just Rode. There's a number of other people out there that actually have great microphones. I just am very familiar with Rode. I use the Rodecaster Pro here in my studio, so I hope that's okay if I talk about that because that's what I'm using. And so I wanted to real quickly show you this grip and kind of my new station. So let me switch over to Filmic Pro here. Let's switch. Well, I'll switch after I get this live. First of all, it's ready. And it looks like I am tethered. Cool. And Filmic Pro. And then I'm going to switch to this. So you can use Filmic Pro, which is an app. And then you can tether your phone to your Apple TV. So I actually have an Apple TV that I play on that TV there. And that's not in my diagram tonight as far as how I get it to the TV. And obviously I split the HDMI signal and send one there as well as one into my studio mixers. And we'll look at that here in just a minute. But I wanted to show you this grip because I think it's really cool. So I'm just going to cut to this camera. I apologize. Make sure you're sitting down because this might get you dizzy. So here, let's cut to channel 3. And so here's my new little station. So this is what I'm looking at right now. And I've got my light right there. And I got my JBLs and my Rodecaster Pro. And I wanted to get the iPad. And I have Mix Effects open right now. I can also open up the chat if I wanted to and chat with you. I'm going to do that on my phone tonight and not just dedicate this to Mix Effects. But you can see I have all my macros. And I wanted to mount this. And this is a bracket you can get from DJI, and you can also, or Elgato, sorry. And it's just one of the brackets. They have brackets that go with these lights, and I'm not using them, so I have them throughout my studio. In fact, I have one over here in the corner. You can see it right there, and it's got the Flex kit on it. In fact, let me just grab it. Sorry about the audio, but this is the Flex kit on the end of this. And so you can grab it and it's adjustable and you can mount it to a light. You can mount it to a bracket and this bracket does fit on that. And so this is a clamp on the desk mount, and then on the Air bracket, they actually have a desk stand. So you don't want to try to use that. You'd have to get one of these brackets that has a mount. This one's a little beefier and it'll mount around a pole. And it barely squeezes on that pole right there. Barely, I have to kind of force it on. But it comes down, and then I have a Flex kit on it. And I'm gonna wrap this around here so you guys can see it. And I'll try to keep the audio going. And so there's my power cord, and you can see it goes into this new Joby clamp, and that clamps on my iPad. And so now I can have this clamp, and you can see it expands, and then you can tighten it there. You can also rotate it. So I can go from landscape, which I'm in right now, and I can rotate that to portrait. And you can see that Joby clamps on there. Let me focus that, and it clamps on down there. And got lots of glare and lots of light in our face. But I love this little device, and so you can see how it mounts on right there, and you can put it on a tripod, or you can put it on a light stand, or you can put it on a mount like this Elgato key light mount and the clamp. And so I love that. And then if you buy the flex arm kits, then you have the ability to do this crazy little thing I'm doing. So I go back and then down and then onto the bracket right there. And so that's kind of a tour of this device. I just wanted to share it with you guys because I think it's a great tool. I think it's something that might be helpful in your studio. And we're always looking for a way. For me, I'm kind of trying to make a flight station here because if you've seen the other live streams, I'm always trying to figure out where to put my iPad. And now it sits right here. And I've got kind of a control station. And so now, again, what I'm looking at is this right here. And so I've got my iPad there. My laptop, and then I have my iPad. Then I can go over here to sound, go over here to control my Stream Deck, my HyperDecks, and then I've got my Extreme ISO. Then I have my ATEM Mini Pro, and then my keyboard, that's for my PC, so it runs the PC. And if you've never seen the PC, and we're gonna do a complete tour coming up, but this is the PC that I had built by NZXT, and it's been a couple years now. My son has one as well, and we unboxed his on the channel. So that's just a little look at behind the scenes. We're gonna do a very thorough walk around when we do that Breaking 1,000 behind the scenes live stream. So again, I wanted to share that tech before we get into these slides on how my studio is laid out. So I'm gonna untether my phone here because it's almost dead and save that for the post show. And then let me look at the chat here. And yeah, it's great to have DJ Ware here. Has been a while. I can't remember the last time you were on, but what a great channel. Check out DJ Ware's channel. There's other guys here on the chat. Quick Tech Solutions, Tony is here, has a great channel. And so check out those guys' channels, subscribe to them, and let's create the community that we all love. Let's build it, and let's support each other. And I believe that there is something that takes place when you support other streamers, and it's like a pay it forward. So I love that. I love the fact that I've seen some of the channels that had less subscribers than mine grow past mine. I think that's great. Obviously, the more subscribers you have, the more responsibility that you have. So go there wisely, guys. And but again, thank you so much for joining me tonight and being a part of this. I just want to acknowledge those of you guys who are here. So I think I've caught everybody. If I miss anybody, let me know. Let me look at the chat here real quick. I'm going to bring it up so I'm not looking down. Let's see. Let's go back here. Lots of comments already. Again, Conjoin Technology says, what's up? Freddie greeted me earlier. Hi, Keith from Craig. I just noticed that you are getting really close to 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, I actually looked at the count, 987, so that's 13 away. And so that's exciting. I'm excited. We are going to celebrate that and together shortly after we hit 1,000 and make sure that we stay over that mark. And then we will do some fun stuff. So let's see. Greeting from Freddie from Caracas, Venezuela. What's the black figure in your shelf behind you? The black figure, you mean on the top shelf, way up on top? That's Bigfoot. It says hide and seek champion. I got that for Christmas. And so it's up on my shelf. Actually, that's the only thing right now I have on my shelf from Christmas. There are some MC lights by Aperture. There's these little mobile lights. I have one here on my shelf so I could just show you guys. So it's lit up, lighting up my shelf, only because I like to see that stuff. I'm not really probably going to cut to that tonight. So I think that's the figure you're talking about. That's Bigfoot. And he is the hide and seek champion, according to that. Let's see. Hi from DJ Ware, and good evening to you as well. Hi to Tony from Freddie. What's up from Tony? Hey, what's up, Tony? You got to be like really close to doing your big tour, and I apologize. I haven't, here publicly, I haven't been over on the channel lately. I've been just crazy busy, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. And then let's see. Wow, letting Freddie know he filmed his first studio video yesterday, and that's Tony's new studio. So make sure you subscribe to Quick Tech Solutions so you can see from here forward, which is going to be exciting for all of us, and especially exciting for Tony, obviously. He's been actually using I think a borrowed facility, so let us know in the chat, and you're probably officially out of that one. So tell those people from me thank you, because that continued your tech talk on your channel, so thank you for that. I'm getting seasick. You need a gimbal for the mobile cam. Yeah, I do have gimbals, but I'm using my iPhone. I apologize for that. Make sure that you're sitting down, and I'm not very good at, when I'm talking, staying stable with the iPhone. So I did turn it off. So hopefully you're not going to throw up. Good to see Leslie here. Leslie and I have been chatting back and forth. And thank God for you too, Freddie. Freddie is actually working in a venue. So I'm excited to develop that relationship. It's exciting to know people that are having channels or involved in tech or getting ready to build a studio or just learning about HyperDeck. It's so nice to meet everybody. And then when you get to connect off the live stream, maybe in an email and all that, it's very exciting to me. And if you stay for the post show, I'll share someone I met that's actually a client, and actually have a video tonight that I shot right here in the studio that'll be in the post show, and you'll get a chance to meet Grace, and I'll just leave it at that. She is a client of mine, and I'm excited to introduce her to you in video, and I will get a chance to take a break during that video in the post show. Let's see. Yeah, DJ Ware, haha, I agree. There are days when I wish I could hide and seek a hide and seek champ. Yeah, I don't know if Bigfoot is real, but I know people who believe it. In fact, there's a guy here in the Tri-Cities I met. He came to me and was asking for sponsorship for a big conference he was doing. And he's actually on one of the shows on Discovery. They're going to have a season 3. And so I don't know, hopefully someday he will agree to come on this show, because wouldn't it be cool in the post show to talk to someone that goes out for Discovery and shoots a TV show for finding Bigfoot. So obviously they haven't found him yet, but I'm sure if he was in here, he would tell you some stories. So if you're a Bigfoot fan, let me know if that's something you'd like to see in the post show. And I don't know if he'd come on or not. He might let me interview him, but I did meet him face to face. I have his card. He has my card. And so hopefully one day we'll be able to hook up, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to go in the woods with him with my camera. That would be cool. Okay, so I need to get into the meat tonight. It is 20 after. So the bracket is not the meat. What did I do with the box? Vanished. Wow, that is pretty. Oh, there it is. It's a magic trick. So that wasn't the main thing. I just wanted to talk about this. If you want me to put a link in the chat or in the description later tonight, let me know in the chat. If any one of you ask me to do that, I will. I've never done a Amazon associate link for this bracket. So I've never owned one before, but I do have one now. So I think it was like $45 at Best Buy. I've seen them online, way less money than that, like in the high 30s, and that's US funds. So cool. Oh, someone else from Birds of Ray. So is your name Ray? Let me know. And he says, a second person from Venezuela. Wow, that's cool. 2 guys from Venezuela. And so let everybody else know where you're from. So let's give a shout out to all the other locations, both here in the United States and in the world around us. And my guest that will be on video tonight in the second portion, the post show, is actually from another country, and we're going to talk about that and show you guys a picture on the Google map of where she's from. That's in the post show. So excited about that. So at the end of tonight, before we get done, I want to talk a little bit about the venue I visited last Wednesday. I can't give you a lot of details. I don't have complete permission yet to disclose all the details, but I am going to talk about what we went up there to do, why they asked me to get involved, and I'm going to do that at the end of the show as time allows, or that may spill over into the post show. Just depends on how we do on time. So again, I love my new station. I'm going to hit a macro now that's going to let me share me and still images, and that's just a reminder that there is a post show tonight after. And let's get right into this. And thank you guys so much for all the nice comments and all the things that you're saying in the chat. Feel free to talk with each other if you're bored with what I'm talking about on the screen. So I started to build a still image to kind of show everybody what my studio looks like. And obviously you have to have a widescreen image that I can put on the show. And so that you can see everything. And so you got to do things pretty big. And I spent probably, I don't know, three hours on this. Let me drop it into the screen here. There you go. It is a disaster area. In fact, there is no way that I could talk about this tonight. So I had to take a step back. I didn't completely finish it, but a lot of things are here. And you're probably looking at that now and you can't even see it. So it's obviously in Media Player 2. So I'll cut, or Media Player 1. So I'm going to cut to it full screen. So there's what it looks like when it's full screen. And I even put a Sony ZV-1 in there because I think that may be where I'm going in the future for a second device. So back to SuperSource. So we're not going to look at that one tonight. I have rescued your mind and rescued my mind with a different still image. And I'm going to put it on the screen here. And then I'm going to have to make a change in what I see so that I can see this big enough. And so because I can send multi-view onto this monitor and onto my BenQ, which you're going to see here in a still image, I'm going to now go into the control software. And I think I have my desktop here. So I'll bring this control software over here to my desktop. And then let me cut to me and my desktop here in the macros. And then if I go in here, you can see my still images that I have ready to drop in here, and they'll populate in that other SuperSource by just dropping them in to this layer right now. But this macro is set up so that my logo's on the screen and you have my desktop. And this is a macro that I created, and I used some great techniques inside MixFX. And if you haven't seen yet Adam Tao's new video, this morning at 8 o'clock, he did a premiere of his new version of MixFX. It's an update, and you need to check that out. He killed it. He did so many cool updates, including some HyperDeck updates. So get on over to MixFX, Adam Tao's channel, and check that out. So again, I'll go up here to my outputs, and because I'm sending to my BenQ monitor, one of the 4 windows, which you'll see here in the image here shortly, I can then go up to the output and change output number 1 in my ATEM Extreme ISO. So there's 2 HDMI outputs of that device. There's only 1 HDMI output in my ATEM Mini Pro. That's the same with the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, and that's the same with the ATEM Mini. But the ATEM Mini Extreme and the Extreme ISO has 2 HDMI outputs, and they have the ability to choose what you want to display on those. Do you want multi-view? Do you want the program out? Do you want a clean output? Do you want to have camera input 1 or camera 2 if it's in input number 2? Or whatever you have in any input, I can put up on that screen. I can even put them on my confidence monitor. Right now, I see the program out, but I could actually change HDMI output number 2 and not have program on my monitors in here, and you're gonna see that design. So I just wanna show you this real quick. I'm gonna go up to the software here on my desktop. I'm gonna go into output number 1, and I'm gonna change, instead of multi-view here on the screen, I'm gonna now change this to what I wanna see. And what I wanna see while we're doing this is going to be, I can look at the program out, but I think I'm gonna go for SuperSource, because that will then let me see the SuperSource here full screen. And I forget this all the time when I make these changes. So I'm gonna have to go back to multi-view because multi-view shows me all the data on the screen. And you can see this PC back here behind me, it changed as well. I mean, this monitor, my MSI, changed as well. So whatever I have on my BenQ in that PC desktop or my laptop quadrant also goes on the MSI monitor right here. And so back to SuperSource. And so now we're going to cut back to the other one, me and the still images, and it's going to go back to this same still image. And so now let me drag and drop in our first slide tonight. And here you go. So these are the inputs that I have in my ATEM Mini Extreme. And everywhere you see a switch, those are two inputs in, so I can have two things coming in. And I can have I'm seeing SuperSource. I need to see something different. So I just noticed that. So I'm going to go back here to output one, and I need to see media player one. There we go. So let me know in the screen what you guys are seeing, just to make sure that you can see the slide, because I cannot see my multi-view right now, but it says, oh, let's see. I need multi-view live. And then I need to switch. Okay, let's go back here. I am losing track of the live stream, which is one of the challenges. Back into multi-view. You guys are seeing the wrong thing here. So me in a still image. Try this again. Let's drop this in here. Here's what I wanted you guys to see. Sorry, when I lose my multi-view, I can't see what the program is. So I'm just going to stick at this right now. It's just very, very small. And I got multi-view back here again. But I know what's in my input. So if you look at input number one, it is my EOS R, which is right here. And it's almost on camera because I'm going to look at it a little bit later, and we're going to talk about it. Next to that, I have this camera right here, which is input number two. Next to that, you can see I have my ATEM Mini Pro coming in. Now, I'm not showing you on this still image what's in my ATEM Mini Pro, but real quickly, I can drop that in. And these are all of the devices that I have coming into my ATEM Mini Pro. And these slides were, or these pictures were in my intro slide, my still image. And I am going to have that on the screen for you guys tonight so you can snap a picture. And you can take a picture of each one of these. I can also bring them full screen. And so you can see them full screen. So that's everything that's in my ATEM Mini. And we'll come back to that slide, so don't freak out. This is the ATEM Mini Pro and Extreme, ISO, and I'm recording tonight just program out. And you can see I have input number one is the EOS R by Canon, and the second input is the 5D Mark IV, which I normally use as my main cam. Input number three, you can see that is my ATEM Mini Pro, and then I can switch in the Pro so everybody can see what's in the Pro when I bring it into channel 3 in the live. And right now I have the Apple TV in there, and so it's actually on that channel. If I make sure my Canon 5D3 is on and I cut to it, then I can actually cut to that channel. In a minute, I'll show you that and bring in each one of those images. But right now, next on the Extreme in input number 4 is my either a choice using a switch of my laptop desktop or my PC desktop. And that's right, I have both of those in the studio. And then I have a fill and key channel going into 5 and 6 from my HyperDeck Studio Mini. That's the old model. And the old small one does have a fill and key. I had someone reach out to me today that bought the HyperDeck Studio, the new version, the HyperDeck Studio HD, and it does not have a key channel. It only has a fill channel. You have to buy that one you see on the screen on the far right. You have to buy the HD Plus if you want to be able to get key and fill, or you have to buy the older HyperDecks. So quickly back to SuperSource here. So not only do I have two cameras coming in, and an ATEM Mini Pro. I have two PCs coming in by using one switch, and I only really have one switch that I use to bring things into my Extreme, but I have three switches to bring things into my ATEM Mini Pro, and we're gonna look at that here in a second. And then I have HDMI 1 and HDMI out, and they go out to monitors. So let's look again before we start asking questions, and I'm sure you're gonna ask questions. Let's look at the ATEM Mini Pro again. Let me drop it in here. Let's see. It is right here. And we'll cut to that full screen here. And so here I have my 5D Mark III or my in channel 1. And then when you go into channel 2, I have my first switch, not a splitter, it's a switch. Some of them work both ways, and you can make them a switch or a splitter. A splitter would take one HDMI input and make it two output, but this is designed to bring two HDMI inputs in, and then I can choose by pushing a button which one I want, and it lights up under each input. So input 1, input 2. So with that, I have a streaming bridge, and I can also see what is playing in my HyperDeck. So if I want to bring my HyperDeck into my live show, just through the SuperSource or into the multi-view in a different input, so I can use it to make a SuperSource, then I can bring in it that way by pushing that button. Then next to that, my PC comes in and my multi-view. Now that multi-view, guys, is the multi-view from my ATEM Extreme ISO. I don't really use the outputs of the ATEM Mini Pro. I could run those out and use it, but because I'm just using it as a switch, I only use it to bring in these devices into it. And you can use it on either end. You can use it before your ATEM Mini Extreme, or you can use it after. And so I know people that use it after, and I know people that use it before. I want to use it before, so that I'm only using it as a switch. And now because I have these individual switches on there, where I can choose between input 1 and input 2, now I can bring in other items. So 3 switches on channel, one's on 3, one's on 2, one's on 4. And so 2 has my streaming bridge and my HyperDeck, so I can see it. 3 has my PC and my multi-view, and yeah, I can bring my laptop and my PC into channel 4, but I also want to bring in my PC and my multi-view through my ATEM Mini Pro. That way I could have my PC on the screen at the same time when I'm teaching and training, which might be a webcam, it might be just a desktop, it might be showing Adobe Premiere file, but then I can also have my PC in a SuperSource or on the screen at the same time. So I'm not having to go over and switch to ATEM Mini Pro. I can just bring both those on the screen and be working inside the Extreme ISO. And then I wanted to give a shout out to Freddie, because Freddie reached out to me this week and said, have you seen how you can use Companion and the Stream Deck to create buttons so that you can control the inputs on both the ATEM Mini Pro and the ATEM Mini Extreme at the same time? And that is really cool. I'm going to be working on that this week. I have used it to record, to control both units before, mainly to work with HyperDecks. But in reality, you can create buttons and name them and create them, so you could be actually choosing what's in channel 1 of your ATEM Mini Pro or choosing what's in channel 1 of your Extreme and have those come on the air. Obviously, mine is a little bit more complicated than that because I have 3 of the channels have 2 things coming in, so I would only be able to bring in whatever I have chosen. So then not only can I bring my PC and multi-view in, I also can bring in my iPhone, and I have it called IP, or my Apple TV. So I could bring my iPad in Apple TV. I could show something obviously on Apple TV if I wanted to use the YouTube app, bring up my channel. I could do that way. I also can use the program out. So the reason I have program in there, if I ever want to stream to 2 locations, I have the program coming out of my Extreme, which is what you guys are seeing. I have it so I can go back into my Pro, and that way I could send my program through a streaming bridge to someone else. I could send program out to a different channel at the same time that I'm streaming to YouTube through my Extreme, because I can stream directly from my Pro and I can stream directly from my Extreme. I don't really play with that. I have used it to send a signal to my streaming bridge just to test. But you know, once you start uploading video to the World Wide Web on 2 devices, you're going to have some huge bandwidth to do that. So, so again, ATEM Mini Pro, then you can see the HDMI out. Again, I don't use the multi-view because I have it always set to program, and the HDMI out from my ATEM Mini comes out into input number 3 of my Extreme. And here's that slide again so you can see it. I'll go full screen. So you can see input number 3 is my ATEM. And so I have programs set inside the ATEM Mini Pro. I could also show multi-view if I wanted to, but I use it mainly as a switch. So I want it always set to program, and then whatever I switch to would show live. And then you can see the other inputs there again. So again, you can go back and watch this and study that image. Hopefully there's no typos. Literally hours of work to get this set up. And with my studio changing all the time, it's kind of a crazy step for me, but I wanted you guys to be able to see this. So now I have 2 more slides to show you. I want to show you how my monitors are wired, and I also want to kind of explain the switches that I have in my studio as well, so you can kind of see how those are routed, other than the ones that come into my ATEM Extreme and my ISO and my ATEM Mini Pro. Okay, let me go back and just look at questions here real quick. We still got plenty of time to get to our other 2 slides. And yes, that drawing does look like abstract art. I wanted to give you guys real pictures of real devices. So all of these pictures I brought in from the different sites, and then made them into PNGs if there wasn't a PNG available, so that I could display them on top of the black background. So hopefully you guys like that, and it makes it a little easier to process when you see the real pictures of these devices. Now, obviously out of the Extreme and also out of the ATEM Mini Pro, you have Ethernet coming out. You also have a USB-C coming out, and I'm not going to talk about those tonight. Obviously, the USB-Cs go out to my devices. So mainly I have my Extreme going into my laptop, and that's what I use for Zoom. But we're not going to focus on that tonight. I'm mainly showing you the inputs and how I combine the ATEM Mini Pro with the Extreme ISO in more of a pictorial way. And again, there's that picture again of the Extreme. Now, if we decide to go a little deeper down this rabbit trail, here you go. This is my monitors. And so I'm going to back up here again and just kind of tell you that I have a monitor over my main camera, and it's a Portkeys 5-inch monitor. It's really bright, so that's the one I take on shoots with me out of the studio, because I can take it outside. It's 2000 nits, which has to do with the brightness, and it's got great features in it. And if I ever do step up and buy a Blackmagic Design camera, it does Bluetooth, so I can control the Blackmagic Design camera, even though the one I would probably get at this point would be the 6K, and that has a nice screen on the back. And the new 6K actually articulates, which is great, because I was looking at getting it upgraded to that from someone who did those updates. So again, so I have the BenQ monitor, which you can see the big one in the middle. Then I have one over my Canon 5D Mark IV, which is this camera. I have one over this camera right here, which I have in frame, just the lens. And I have a 7-inch ICANN monitor over that. And so then I have the MSI right here, which right now it's sporting, it has 2 inputs, and it's sporting multi-view, which is coming from my HDMI 1 out of my Extreme. And so even though I can't see all the details, I wanted you guys to be able to see this image so that you can kind of look at it and understand how things are wired. And then if it's a little complicated when you look inside the BenQ, the reason I did that with the BenQ is I wanted you guys to know that you can do a side-by-side picture, and the one on the left when you're looking at the BenQ, would have the audio. So if you had like your desktop and the one on the right coming from your PC, and then the left was your HyperDeck, then you would be able to hear volume from your HyperDeck. And remember, the older HyperDeck, you couldn't hear any volume out of it because it didn't have a speaker on it. It didn't have a headphone jack. The new one does have a speaker built in. And if you have headphones in, then you can use headphones. But the old HyperDeck Mini did not. And so I was using the left quadrant anytime I was using my BenQ to hear my HyperDeck. And I actually have a puck here on the desk that I can turn the volume up and down. It defaults to volume. So when I want to get ready for a live stream, I can make sure all my videos are playing. They have audio. There's no issues with any of my converters. So I make sure that those videos have audio when I play my intro and my outro, and I don't have any issues. And that's what I was using my BenQ for. So you have a right and left. You can also do the big 32-inch image, and you have 4 inputs. So I can bring in whatever I have coming in the inputs that way. And then you also have a picture-in-picture. So you can have the 32-inch screen up and then a little picture-in-picture. So if you just wanted to be working on videos and also be monitoring a YouTube channel, you could do that. I could put it in the bottom right. I'd have to have my house speakers on because that picture-in-picture is not going to play. The bigger image is what's going to play on the BenQ. It only plays when you're going to multiple images, one input, and that's the one you put in the top left. So next, you can go 4 images, and I also have kind of a picture of that. It's the little box on the right. And when you have 4 images, you can put whatever inputs you have coming in to whatever box. So you're not limited to what they're plugged in, and then that's always top left, and the other one's always top right, and the other one's always bottom left, the other one's always bottom right. I literally can move them around where I want, and that's exciting because you can listen to what you want, and you can prep for shows. And if I'm using this camera, I can switch my BenQ up and stream from this camera. I'm not stuck in my BenQ monitor in one direction. So you can also see in here that I kind of talk about some of the switches. So let me bring this full screen again. So on the bottom there, you can see that I have switches. I also have a big splitter that will split my HDMI to 4 different HDMI outputs, and that's how I get to all of these monitors in the studio. I'm splitting HDMI output number 2 from my Extreme, and then that goes to this monitor. It also goes to this monitor. I have to switch to the other input. Right now I have it on the input that shows me multi-view. I also go to my icon monitor from that, and so I can send it to all those locations, and then I can also, if I wanted to, send that program out like I have into my ATEM Pro, and I could always stream from my Pro as well. So it goes to 4 locations in the studio, and then I can decide what I want to show in those 4 locations. But whatever I choose in input number 2 as my source, multi-view, program out, camera 1, camera 2, whatever's in those inputs, if that's, or even multi-view and super source I can put up, whatever I choose is going to be on all of these monitors. The exception is this one because it has 2 inputs, and obviously my BenQ, I can show whatever I have going in those 4 inputs, and you can see here what I have on the screen going into those 4 inputs. Now, when we do our walkthrough live after we hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to actually put these images up during that. That's part of the prep that I did for tonight. And I'm also going to show those to you. And hopefully I will do my stabilizer. I do have the DJI mobile gimbal, so perhaps I'll be using that. But I'm literally going to have to lean over the desk to show you guys all of that. And I'm going to be taking you through the studio as well as the lights and all of that. And it may take 2-3 hours to do that live stream. We'll see. And that's coming after we hit 1,000. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. So this is how all the monitors are laid out. And that's not the last thing. Once we get past all the monitors, then we have the switches. So here's all the switches I have in my studio. And there's more coming. and I have more ideas. And that's why I'm saying once you do all these different layouts, it's crazy because you may have to fix it. I may have to change something. And so you'll have to look at this later. You're welcome to ask me questions about it, both tonight in the Q&A and I want to get to that here in about 5 minutes. So we have plenty of time for Q&A. That would give us about 15 and a half or 16 minutes before we have to go to the post show. I would like to leave a few minutes to talk about the trip I took on Wednesday. But these are all the slides. Again, here's a close-up to look at that slide. And I know I have the JBLs in the middle of all of this mix. And I just want to let you guys know that I'll be doing another slide for that 1,000 subscribers and above live stream. And I'll have a slide specifically for my audio in my studio. And I'm going to have a slide specifically for my lighting in my studio. So I still have a lot of work to do, and it's a labor of love. I just want you guys to see my setup, and hopefully it answers some questions for you, or it creates some, and I can answer them either in the lives, or you can reach out to me and I will answer them in the chat later when these videos are up on my YouTube channel. And you're welcome to go to lifejourneyproductions.com. Go to the contact page, reach out to me, and I would be happy to communicate back and forth as long as time's available. And I do have some client projects to do this week. So again, there it is, close up. You can see how I can send the HyperDecks, both of them, to the BenCube with a switch. You can see how things go to different places, even how the ATEM and the Extreme are connected. All of that's there, and I'm sure there's things I missed, but you can actually see the monitors, the cameras I'm using. You can see what I have in the different quadrants. Top left is my HyperDeck, and I can put HyperDeck 1 or 2 up there in my BenQ. On the bottom left is my PC desktop. I just put this image up to represent my desktop. Bottom right is my laptop desktop, and the top is the multi-view coming out of my Extreme. And I actually shot this view today for you. That's a live multi-view that I shot earlier today for tonight's still images and for the live stream. So, man, lots of stuff. I want to do some Q&A. Let me cut back to me. And if you want to see any one of those images again, I will pop them up. But let's look at the chat. And see what you guys are saying. There's so much here. Thanks, Craig, for the nice comments. Looks good. You and Diagram and Supersource. Freddie's talking to one of our guests. Yep, don't know Spanish, so I can't even read those. I can interpret them later if I want to, but it's cool that you guys are talking to each other in Spanish. So I just have no clue what you're saying. And okay, so Switch is my favorite from Conjoining Technology. So any questions about the layout on how I'm combining an ATEM Mini Pro, when we talked about this before, but I keep getting questions, so I wanted to get some good pictures on the screen, and my Extreme, how I combine them, how I run them to different monitors, and even what I'd like to change. People have asked me about if I want to get a video hub from Blackmagic Design, and the jury's still out on that. It's a big investment financially, and it's probably down on my list, and it would make some things more simple, but things maybe more complicated. And counting up a 20 in and a 20 out, I was not able to have enough inputs and outputs with my setup I'm using right now. So it's not going to solve all the problem, but it would solve about 95% of it. And I don't think I would go for a 40 in, 40 out. I hear they're very loud, and I already have noise in my studio, and it already heats up. And every device I add now is going to add heat. And this is a small room. I think that I measured, it's like 11 by 10 and a half feet. So not a big space. So I have to work within this space. So I would love to hear in English any other questions that you guys have. Freddie says the BenQ has 2 HDMI inputs and 1 DisplayPort and 1 Thunderbolt. That's correct. The 2 HDMIs for the HyperDeck, the Thunderbolt for the PC, and the 4 for quadrants. So basically in the drawing, you'll see that I'm using the HDMIs are coming in from my PC and my laptop. No, I take that back. From my HyperDeck is one of the HDMI. Actually, I'm coming out SDI of my new HyperDeck, converting it to HDMI into top left quadrant because I want the data that's on the screen. And I've showed you guys this before, but because I have my Apple TV hooked up here, I will go ahead and fire this back up again and show it to you because we are doing Q&A now. And let me find Filmic Pro. Cut to that puppy. And I'll try not to make you dizzy, but I'm going to show you this right now. So that's my BenQ monitor on the screen. What do we have up here in your way? Please stand by. Holy cow. Okay, so that's my BenQ, and up here you can see, if you look close, this is my intro video that's paused right now, and it tells you how long it is. The codec is ProRes. It has HyperDeck Studio HD Plus. That's the one that I have presently displayed up here. And then you go over here, it tells you status. It's on stop. It's not using that card. It's using SD2. I also could plug a USB-C and a SSD drive like this into the back of it and play from it or record to it. And those are those 4 quadrants that you can see all together right there. And then, so you also have volume. So I can see the volume, and it says right now the source is SDI1, and then that's time code, I think, mainly. But I want to be able to see this screen. And so having that up there is a big help to me, so I can actually see what's going on up there. And I'm making a little adjustment to put on my logo there. So HDMI converted from the SDI out because that's the only one that you can choose the information in the new HyperDeck Studio HD Plus. So you can choose that to be on or off. It also has an HDMI out, so I could come out of it and go into the BenQ or another monitor. I'm not doing that because obviously I don't need to see another version of the same HyperDeck. And then I have a switch on my desk so I can change that over to my other HyperDeck. And so again, show you that. Here's my 2 HyperDecks, and the switch is right here. And you can see it basically says HyperDecks, and I can switch it, and I'll show you what happens here. Takes a second, and then it's going to show you my subscribe logo because that's what's on my HyperDeck 2. And I really only have that up, guys, so that I can ask you to subscribe if you haven't yet, but mainly because I want something on the screen in my HyperDeck that's both fill and key. And I do that all the time, even in training. So I can go like this and say, this is what it looks like when you have both channels coming out of a HyperDeck that has fill and key. Key keys out the background, so it makes this nice and crisp. And if there's transparency, that's what helps you do that. You can do that through Luma with just black and white, but when you get into color logos and putting them over colored bodies, you need to have a key layer and pre-multiply it if you want to do that. Now you can come through a card like some of you have. You can come out of your laptop or your Macintosh into a card, a DeckLink card. It doesn't work on its own. It has to be in some kind of miniature PC. And then you could come out of that and assign those SDIs to be ins or outs. So you could send 2 of those as fill and key into your ATEMs. And obviously, if it comes out SDI, you're going to have to convert it because the HDMI inputs in the ATEMs and the ATEM Extreme and Extreme ISO all are HDMI. There is no SDI, so they have to be converted. That's kind of a downside of a DeckLink card. What I love about the new HyperDeck is it has the HDMI out. That saves a lot of people, but that doesn't help you with fill and key. That only helps you with fill. So if you're going to play a video, that's great. But if you want to play the key channel, then you're going to have to use the 2 SDI outs. And that means that you're going to have to convert those. And that means in my studio, I have 4 SDI to HDMI converters, the little micros. 2 of them are the new, or actually I have 3, but 2 of the ones on my new HyperDeck are the newest model that just came out. two of them on my HyperDeck Studio or Mini old version is the older converters, and I want to upgrade those because the new ones have USB-C, and that's how they're powered, either from a hub or a power cord. So you can buy those adapters with or without a power cord to save money. But if you want to power them from a wall jack, you're going to have to order it with a power cord. And then they update easier. So when you're doing the firmware, which means you need to have them plugged into a USB-C port that you have access to from a Mac or a PC, then you download the updates and you can update them, and then you can disconnect that and plug it into a hub or plug it into a wall, but you need that USB-C jack. And I've had issues now updating with newer firmware from Black Magnet Design, my old two converters. So again, HDMI, HyperDeck converted. I also have HDMI 1 of my Extreme coming into the other one. And then I have a display port coming from my PC, and that's in a quadrant. And I have a Thunderbolt output coming from my hub plugged into my laptop. And that's how I'm getting my main input from my laptop into my BenQ. So obviously you can't use 4 inputs in the BenQ if you don't have Thunderbolt. So keep that in mind. If you start looking into how to convert those ports, they're not very friendly when you're talking Thunderbolt you're talking DisplayPort. So keep that in mind before you decide to buy a BenQ monitor. If you don't have Thunderbolt, it's probably not the right monitor for you. Find something that you can get that has 4 HDMI inputs in, and there are those items out there. Now, this monitor will actually do different color sources. It'll do 2 color sources on the screen at the same time, so I could have SVGA and HDR, 709, SVGA, regular SVG. I have all of those different color sources I can put up there. It's also a calibrated monitor, and it's just a really good quality monitor. It's not super bright, I think 300 nits, but in this studio, it's perfect for me. And they have newer models out now that are available, but it's about a $1,300 monitor. Okay, so it is now 2 minutes till 5. So let me get back in here to the Q&A. So a good enclosure, Birds of Ray says, I'm looking for a good enclosure for the Extreme ISO and HyperDeck AC Plus. Any suggestions? Well, I haven't seen an enclosure as far as you can put it in a rack that Black Magnet Design makes. It's just a tray, but it's designed so that you can bolt through the bottom of the HyperDecks to that tray so you could rack mount it. So you could probably buy a rack mount in your studio for the HyperDecks and then use something else like Aaron Parecki on his channel. And so you can search him on YouTube. He makes racks that he has had 3D printed. He made the prototypes himself. He has a rack that you can put an Extreme deck next to it, different sizes. He has one for the ATEM Mini Extreme and Extreme ISO. He has a mount for the ATEM Minis. So you can check those out. They retail for a little over $100. They can be shipped anywhere, I think, almost in the world now. So you can check out his channel, and he has a store where you can order those. And so he's done that. So those are really only enclosures I know about. I'm using door stops. So have you ever seen those rubber door stops that look like a little triangle? You stick them under your door so it doesn't come open. I'm using those to elevate my ATEMs and my HyperDecks. So my HyperDecks, I have them going this way so I can see the screens better and push the buttons better. And my ATEM Extreme ISO and my ATEM Mini Pro are like this, so I can reach over and touch those. And so I actually have a video on that DIY do-it-yourself build on my channel. So check that out right here on Life Journey Production Studios. And if you haven't subscribed, those are the kind of things that you're going to find on my channel, plus some other crazy stuff as time goes on. So let's see. The brands of the switches that I'm using. Well, the ones I've been buying recently are these right here. They're basically 4K, 60 hertz, 3D, and they say V as in Victor, W, R as in Randy, H as in Henry, A as in Apple, R as in Randy. And I'm not sure that's going to get in focus. I think I can cut to this camera and may be able to focus it for you. Add some light. And zoom in. Pretty close. So there you go. That's the brand. And some of the other ones are a different brand, but I can't find those anymore. And these work just fine. I have 2 of these live right now in my studio. So, and I have links. I think we did a live stream on switches a few weeks back, probably a month and a half, 2 months back, maybe 4 or 5 live streams. And you can go back and find some Amazon links. So if you'd like to support the channel, those do give me a kickback, but you shouldn't be paying any more. That's not always true. So be very careful. But that would help support the channel. And I would appreciate that. But I have to disclose that if you use those links. So, and then I also have I think it's REI switch that's 1 in, 4 out. I had issues getting one of them to work here. So I had to split the HDMI and put one of them in here and send another one to another location. To the REI, and then split it to my 3 monitors in my studio because that REI would not send a signal, could not read the signal in the MSI. But if I used one of these splitters, it read it fine. So I just went into this input first, split one of these to the REI and the other one. And actually it wasn't this, it was a splitter, and I don't have any spares. They're all wired and there's none in view. They're all buried under my desk, but I will make sure I put that in the notes later tonight when we get done. So I do not use, well, I do use confidence monitors. Tony's asking, do I use a confidence monitor considering all those monitors? I would consider all of these my confidence monitors, mainly over my camera. So I do shoot occasionally from the table and use my EOS R, and that's why it's there. That's my primary client. That's my best camera in the studio for usability and setup because it has the articulating screen. And I'll zoom back so you guys can get a better look at that. So it's right here, and it was set up for my interview with Grace yesterday. We did an audio interview on the Rodecaster Pro, and then I actually turned the camera on, got her permission to interview her just for the channel, and I'll be sharing that in the post-show. But this has just got the articulating screen, and it's just a lot faster for me to set up and to focus, and that's why I use that as my main camera, and I usually have a nice quality lens on that. And so I can actually rotate this around as a giant monitor, but they have a tendency to look at that. So I use it for what I look at when I'm doing my podcast, because I'm like this in my podcast, talking to people on the table. So that's my main monitor when I'm doing that. I can also make that be the program out for a confidence monitor for them, but I want them to look at the icon right here. It's pointing towards where the table was yesterday. But I have them look at that, and they're a little high because this has got the small rig adapter on it because I use this for some mobile shoots. I have a little shorter adapter because if you're looking at the monitors like I do here, it keeps my eyes up and gives me better reflection in my eyes. But this is me looking at the camera, and that's what I did with Ratso last week because I wanted to emphasize that. So occasionally I'll look at that for drama's sake and get right in your eyes, but I'm usually looking at the confidence monitor right above that, and it doesn't give me anything but what's on the program. And I am looking into some possibilities of some monitors to put in here to actually have my notes and stuff on it, and I'm sure that's what you're talking about, but I do not use those. But it would be nice to see the chat. There's just a lot of nice things about that, so it's probably going to be an addition in 2022. We will see. Let's bring this image back in where it looks normal. And then I'm overexposed because anytime I add this extra light here, I have to bring this light down. It's my fill when I'm looking this way, and it's the key when I'm looking that way. So key, fill, and we'll talk more about lights in that long live stream. Okay, so I have to go off the air here in 5 minutes. So any last questions, please fire them out. Notice that you are drinking the ice brand drink to your left on the desk. You also were drinking one during your Lego time lapse. Do you recommend them? So we have a local Costco, which is like a bulk store. And I think there's Sam in other parts of the country. And they have these drinks. There's two brands that they carry. And sometimes they're out of some, and sometimes they have these ice drinks. And I like them. They come in a rack of them. I'm looking for something that has no sugar, that's a diet drink. And obviously, it's hard for me to recommend anything that has chemical in it like that, because they say it's not necessarily healthy. But I drink them. This is when I'm getting overheated, and I usually have it pretty cool in here. And then this is just coffee, which keeps my throat, and it's usually lukewarm, keeps my throat going, and I have it with me all the time. I don't drink a lot of coffee that much anymore. So one of these might last me half a day, and then I have to heat it up, then bring it to the show. So anyway, hope that answers that question. Great question, off topic. And if you come to the post show's more questions about behind the live stream. So that's a great place to ask me more personal questions. I'm going to try to focus in the regular live show on the tech and things going on in the studio. And then in the post show on more of the personal stuff. And I'll bring some of my likes that have nothing to do with this main channel into that post show. And it just gives me an outlet. And I enjoy sharing some of those things, as well as today I'm going to share with you a client. Okay. I hope I get to 1,000 subscribers too. Thanks, Birds of Ray. You're welcome for the answer. That was from Conjoling Technologies about the ice drink that's on my left. And someone asked me about a little round thing on my desk a number of weeks back. That's actually one of the sensors for a, what is it called? A Quest, not the Quest, but before that, 3D set. I bought it for my family, for all the kids to play every time they come into town. And so I'll get it up and set it up always during the holidays, and we can sit right in here and play VR games. And so I can set it up right here on my desk. If I want to just relax and play some VR, right now it's all put away in a box, and it makes less USB-C cables all over the room. The new Quest actually are hands-free, but you can't play as many of the higher-end games from it. In fact, one of the games that we added during Christmas is a game from Steam, and it is the coolest 3D game I've ever played, even though I haven't had time to play it much since the Christmas holiday break, and it doesn't play on the Quest 2, so you have to have the original S, I think is what we have, or Rift. I think I have the Oculus Rift, that's what I have, and it'll play on it, even though the newer Quests have a little better resolution, so that's what that was in my studio. I finally realized what that question was, and it may have been DJ Ware or someone a number of weeks back. So let me see if I missed any other questions before we wrap it up here. Ratso is on a little trip. We're going to talk about that in the post show. He's not going to be here tonight, but I am going to give you kind of an update. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself last week. Probably had laughed and had fun and was embarrassed when I watched the post show. So if you've never seen Ratso and you haven't watched my post show from last week, it's in the first, right after the intro. You'll see Ratso, my co-host, join us for a short period of time, and then he leaves to read a book based on my recommendations. So check that out. And I got some good feedback. That's going to be a post-show thing. It's just one of the things over my lifetime that people find out that I do, and that I have this relationship with this co-host. And so they, for some reason, like him. So you check it out and see if you like him, if you've not seen him as well. And I think his name is Ratso. And I think that translates Ratso as Spanish, Freddie, right? And so I see the comments in the live stream about that. So now the post show is a separate still image, a separate live event. It's going to launch here in about 5 minutes. And so I'm going to have to say goodnight to our regular live show. I just want to say this before I go, so I'm going to start a little bit late. When I got a chance to go to the venue in Spokane, I discovered that they have some really good equipment, right? They have some Blackmagic design cameras, the older Pocket 4Ks, and they use that in the stage front area. And then they have two nicer Sony cameras in the back, and they're on big tripods. And they were coming into a very high-end Ross switcher. And I hadn't done much study on it, but I had to study up this Ross switcher, and it is pretty sick. The base model that they had, which actually has on-desk controls, is pretty cool. And it has lots of cool features. So I got a chance to check into that. But their problem was it doesn't encode and it doesn't stream. So they purchased the best Mac they could a number of years back, and they've been streaming and encoding through OBS, but they were having glitches. And in the middle of their stream, they would get up to a 2-second lip sync delay for no reason. So one live event would be okay. The next one could be okay, and then suddenly. But one of the things that they said to me when I went up there was that when they were trying to relaunch, going to restream, so they're restreaming to a number of locations. So they send from OBS to restream, and then it actually is encoding it at 720p and sending it out to both YouTube and Facebook, and that's just what they're doing. And they asked me to come up to try to help solve the OBS problem. Now, I use OBS, and I determined that the problem is so many things are being running on their Mac, and it's left on and all that something inside the Mac, we were getting a video card error, GPU error, something could be causing an issue. So I recommended them that they come out, go into a HyperDeck and do the recording in a HyperDeck HD, a regular HD, and because they're just gonna record to it, and then come out of that looped out to a web presenter, HD, because they're just streaming 1080p max, and that's all they're interested in streaming. Then they can go out to that to restream. They have a way to send a SDI with audio signal through an adapter. It can do HDMI with audio or SDI with audio. And so we're in the process of getting that stuff ordered, making sure they have everything. And then I'm gonna actually, this time, instead of going there, I'm gonna help them install it through Zoom. So they're gonna be walking around with a phone. So that's my eyes, and I will be helping them get that all installed, and that's just one of the things that I do. And I'll be talking about other stuff I do in the post-show, so I hope you'll join me for that. I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. I want to thank you so much for coming, and I'll look back at the comments and later on, and hopefully you can roll over into the live show that's going to be starting here in just a few minutes. And until next week, for our next live show, who knows, we may be on extended period of time, because hopefully in the next few days, we will be able to break 1,000 subscribers. When we started tonight, we were at 987, and I'll check here in a few minutes to see if we've added any new subscribers during the live. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you, and I hope that you'll join me again for the post show, but if not, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this after it went live, then go over and check out the playlist for the post show, and you can look at last week's co-host. And tonight you're going to get a chance to see some really cool things, including we're going to open up this baby. I'm going to talk about this little thing right here. I have a guest to introduce you to, and it's going to be a fun post show. So I'll see you over there. Again, this is Keith, Life Journey Production Studios, and I'll see you hopefully in the post show or next week.